You hear the name Louis Vuitton, and you probably think of luxury, right? Status, that famous monogram. But the real story here, it's not about the handbags. It's about a homeless teenager, a 2-year journey on foot, and a single idea that would literally change how the world travels. So let's dive in.
I mean, today, Louis Vuitton is way more than just a brand. It's a global empire. It's the most valuable luxury brand in the world, the absolute crown jewel of the massive LVMH group. It's the name that defines prestige. But to really get how it got here, we have to go way, way back. Because what if I told you this entire empire, this symbol of ultimate wealth and luxury, was built by a boy who ran away from home at 13 and was, for all intents and purposes, homeless? It sounds unbelievable, right? Well, that unlikely journey is exactly where our story begins. So we're heading back to 19th century France, to a tiny village called Angers. And this is the story of a journey that, no exaggeration, would change the face of fashion forever. Just look at that number, 290 miles. That's the distance a 13-year-old Louis Vuitton decided he was going to walk to get to Paris. After his mother passed away and his new stepmother made his life miserable, he just left, on foot. Can you even imagine that? It took him 2 years. 2 years of sleeping in the woods, taking any odd job he could find, all just fueled by this hope that a different life was waiting for him in the city.
And when he finally gets to Paris, it's not some overnight success story. Not even close. He lands an apprenticeship, and for the next 17 years, he poured everything into mastering one single craft, making custom boxes and packing for the rich. Now, this was a seriously skilled trade back then, essential for protecting priceless things during really rough 19th century travel. So, after nearly 2 decades of grinding, of perfecting his craft, all that hard work was about to pay off. And I mean, in the biggest way imaginable. His reputation was about to get a royal seal of approval. This was it. This was the big break. Empress Eugenie wasn't just a royal. She was the absolute pinnacle of French style and society. If she noticed you, you had officially made it. And she didn't just notice him, she hired him as her personal box maker. That was her command to him. And it wasn't just a job. It was the mission that would define his entire career. This single royal appointment instantly made Louis Vuitton the #1 guy for all of Europe's elite. But here's the part you really need to get. Vuitton's genius wasn't just in making beautiful things. It was in seeing and solving the very real, very practical problems his wealthy clients had whenever they traveled. It seems like a pretty simple question, right? But try to put yourself back in the 1850s. The world was getting smaller thanks to new tech like steam trains and ships. People were traveling more than ever, but the luggage they were using was completely stuck in the past. I mean, think about the trunks they were using. They're made of heavy leather that cracked, so they were a nightmare to carry. And get this, the tops were rounded. Now that was great for letting rain slide off a horse-drawn carriage, but it was an absolute disaster when you tried to stack them in the luggage car of a brand new steam train. They also leaked, and they were ridiculously easy to break into. So, in 1858, Vuitton introduces his big idea. He ditches the heavy leather for a lightweight waterproof canvas. But the real stroke of genius was making the top flat. All of a sudden, trunks were stackable, they were durable, and they were perfectly designed for modern travel. To really get the impact, just think about the first time you used a suitcase with wheels. It was that level of a game changer. So he'd solved the practicality problem. But as people traveled more, another huge fear started to grow. The rich were carrying jewels, important documents, and a lot of cash, which made their luggage a huge target for thieves. So, Louis Vuitton and his son George got to work on another innovation, a totally revolutionary lock system. It was so complex and so effective that it basically turned their trunks into portable safes. This gave travelers a kind of peace of mind they'd just never had before. And to prove how confident they were, they did something incredibly bold. They issued a public challenge to the most famous escape artist on the planet, Harry Houdini. They dared him to try and break out of a locked Louis Vuitton trunk. Houdini never took them up on the offer. And honestly, his silence was all the marketing they needed. The legend of the unpickable lock was officially born. Okay, so Vuitton had built this incredible reputation on solving problems. But with that kind of success came a whole new kind of threat, one that the brand still fights tooth and nail to this day. Yep, counterfeiting.
The moment you create something that popular and that good, you can bet people are going to try to copy it. The fight against fakes wasn't just some modern problem. It became a core part of the company's DNA right from the very beginning.
And this is absolutely fascinating. The brand's most famous designs, they weren't just about looking good. They were weapons in an arms race against fakes. It started with a simple striped canvas in '76. When counterfeiters copied that, they created the more complex damier checkerboard pattern in '88. And when even that got copied, Louis Vuitton created the ultimate defense in 1896, the iconic monogram canvas, with all its intricate patterns designed specifically to be a nightmare to counterfeit.
And that fight has never, ever stopped. I mean, just look at this number. In 2017 alone, Louis Vuitton initiated over 38,000 anti-counterfeiting actions. We're talking raids, lawsuits, the whole shebang. It's a massive global battle that started over a century ago. And you have to ask, does this obsession with innovation and protection actually pay off? Well, this chart tells you everything you need to know. The black line shows the steady growth of the whole luxury market. But now look at the red line. That's Louis Vuitton's brand value. It's not just growth, it's an explosion. They didn't follow the market, they created their own path. So where does all this leave them today? Pretty much in the perfect spot. They've somehow pulled off the holy grail of branding. They have massive global recognition, but they still have this aura of high prestige and exclusivity. Everyone knows who they are, yet the brand still feels special. That's a really tough balance to strike. So you trace it all back from that one little workshop opened by a determined young man, and it has grown into the absolute central pillar of LVMH, the biggest luxury group on the planet. The scale of that journey is just staggering. And when you look at the whole story, it becomes so clear that Louis Vuitton's success was never really just about a handbag. It was built on these four pillars: pure resilience to survive wars and recessions, incredible observation to see the problems no one else did, constant innovation to create beautiful solutions, and relentless protection of their ideas. Which leaves us with one last thought. When you trace this brand's story all the way back from a global powerhouse to a young boy's 290-mile walk for a better life, it really makes you ask, what is the true definition of luxury? Is it just the price tag? Or is it a history of ingenuity, of resilience, and of solving problems so beautifully that your solutions become iconic?